Nicole and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to give an update on my haul from Gold Country Orchids. I'll link the video down below where I did the unboxing of 10 different orchids from Gold Country. This was a holiday haul that I got. I remember I got it Christmas Eve, and now that it's been 6 months, these orchids are doing a lot, and I want to give you an update on how these have been growing for me. Now you'll notice I have 9 in front of you. One of the orchids I gave away, and that one is doing really well. But I'm going to take you guys closer individually so you can see how these orchids have adapted. Almost all of them are in a semi-hydroponic setup with the exception of one. And let's jump right in. Let's start out with the Dendrobium Enobi purple. This one was already a mature orchid when I received it. It adapted really well to semi-hydroponics, and it started pushing out new flower spikes about 2-3 months ago. And I was surprised and very impressed to see how many blooms it's pushed out so far. So I'm really happy with this one. It's starting to grow some keikis at the base, and a couple of new growths have come in since I received it. I believe this was new when I got it. And there's some keikis forming down here, which is great. And it's great because I can give them away. I love to share these. But overall, guys, I'm so pleased with this one. The blooms are just absolutely beautiful. There's no fragrance on these, but they're just extremely vigorous. Many flowers, and I'd imagine that in a couple of years, I'm gonna have even more flowers because these Enobi hybrids tend to bloom from older canes, which is wonderful. But really happy with this one. This one is Dendrobium Enobi purple. Not to be confused with purple splash. This one is Dendrobium Enobi purple. Next up, we've got the Darwinara rainbow stars. So this orchid has been pushing out a ton of new roots, as you can see here. And then since I've gotten it, it's pushed out a new fan at the bottom. My only regret when potting this up is not potting it higher, because these Neo-Phoenicia type hybrids, they tend to push growths lower. Otherwise, I've got this in full semi-hydro, and the roots are adapting really well. Now, some of them are hitting the water and dying off, and some of them are staying alive. So I'm curious over time how this does. Let me show you the other side. So overall, I think it's pretty happy here in this setup. Now, in terms of flower spikes, I did see something forming inside between the leaves. It looks dormant, but there's a little something happening. So maybe that'll push out a spike later on. Otherwise, I have these growing under lights, and this looks good so far. Roots look great. Next up is the Dendrobium mini Snowflake. This one has been working on pushing out new roots, and it has pushed out this new growth since I received it. So it's doing well. It's an active growth, has not bloomed for me just yet, but hopefully we'll start seeing some flower spikes coming soon. They usually come up from the top, and they are capable of blooming from old bloom spikes. With this setup, I got tons of algae, and that's because the pot is white, so light gets through. But there's roots that are going down, hitting the water, no problem. It's enjoying the setup quite well. I wish you could see the roots a little bit better. You could see one there, but since the pot is a bit frosted, it's tough to see. But otherwise, Dendrobium mini Snowflake is very happy and healthy. This over here is Phalaenopsis Zebrina. So when I got it, it had a leaf on the bottom which was older, which shedded, which is normal. It pushed out this leaf, and it's starting to work on this new leaf over here. I ended up putting this in a not a semi-hydroponic, I put this in moss. I ended up putting this in moss, and as you can see, there's some roots that grew through the drainage hole. It's got some algae on top, which is totally normal, but root system is doing well. No blooms just yet, but hopefully we'll start seeing a spike very soon. But it's an active growth, and so far I'm very happy with this one. Next up, we've got Brassocattleya Hippodamia. So this one, when I received it, it was working on this new growth, which has matured and became larger than the other two growths. And then recently it started pushing these two out. I hope one of these will be capable of blooming. This one I bought as blooming size, I believe, so hopefully these two will bloom for me. This one's doing really well in this grow method. Lots of roots going down. Again, I do have a problem with algae because light gets through, but the roots do quite well in this setup. They do go down into the medium, and it's thriving, so I'm happy with it. Semi-hydroponics is working out well with it, and hopefully we will see blooms very soon. I hope they come from those new growths. We shall see. So this one over here is in bloom. This one is Vanda Vietnamica. And this was I actually bought this as Vanda Greenlight. So this was a mislabeled orchid, which is okay. I ended up getting the parent of Vanda Greenlight, and I don't mind because I do like the species orchids. This one surprised me because it is also doing really well in a semi-hydroponic setup. The roots are going down really nicely. They're not dying off, and it's doing just fine. And for it to bloom, this is the second spike that I've had on it since I received it. It's sort of hard to see. I need to do a better job of getting clear pots, but the roots are viable in this grow method, and they're going down, they're not dying, so this one I really like. I'm going to be doing a care collaboration on this, so you can see how I take care of it in more detail, but otherwise these blooms are wonderful. I do still want the Vanda Greenlight. I haven't reached out about this just because I didn't mind. This one was a nice, pleasant surprise, to be honest. I still want that Greenlight because I do like the Neo-Phoenicia hybrids, but check that out. It's just beautiful. Up next is another Vanda. This one is the Renantanda Sunrise Prasong, and this one is just growing roots right now. It's working on this new leaf, but it hasn't really grown as quickly as some of the other orchids just yet. It's only been 6 months, and I've also transitioned it into a semi-hydroponic setup, so it is expected that some of these orchids will take some time to adapt. Roots are growing really nicely on this one, even going down into the water. Pardon the mold on the wick, or the algae rather, but as you can see, roots are going down, they're not dying. It sort of likes the moist setup, and you could sort of see the roots through the leca in this frosted pot. Again, not super easy to see, but I think this one will be just fine. It did lose a leaf on the bottom, which is totally normal, but hopefully in another year or so I will see some blooms. I believe this one was advertised as near blooming size, so I look forward to seeing how this does over time. Next one is a mini cat. So that's what Gold Country Orchids specializes in. So if you're looking for Cattleyas that are compact, this Gold Country Orchids is a good place to buy from. Alan Koch, who owns it, makes his own crosses, and he's got some really, really nice ones. So this one is Cattleya Floralia Azul, crossed with Cattleya Pumila, variation Coerulea, Dona Rosina. So this one is a Brazilian cross. The parents are Brazilian, and I'm pleased with this one because it's got a beautiful flower. They do have it. When I placed the order, I saw this on their list, so you can always reach out to Gold Country Orchids on Instagram or Facebook. They have their contact information there. They don't have a website, so you have to get in touch with Alan. Just email him. He'll send you their availability list. This is an orchid that I saw currently on their list. It's really, really pretty. And guys, I can tell you that it's extremely vigorous. So in my care, it's pushed out about 4 to 5 different growths. So we've got one here, we've got another one here, we've got another one on this side, and then there was one more right here. It also matured a growth when I first got it. I don't remember which one in particular was the new one, probably that one. The new growth that matured did not give me any blooms or anything, but this was near blooming size as well, so maybe in the next year I will get some blooms here. But it's pushing out new growths like crazy, and this one really, really likes semi-hydroponics. So you could see the roots. Let me get you closer. So you could see the roots here. Apologies for the algae. I'm just having a big algae problem because these pots are white, but I have it in this self-watering setup. Algae doesn't look great, but the roots are just really doing well. And then when I touch the pot, it feels tight in there. There's no give. So roots are growing in here quite abundantly. And we've got a root that's hitting the water at the bottom. It's been there for a while. It's not dying. So this is doing really well. It's got a beautiful, beautiful flower. I love the Coerulea flowers. They're pretty. And just given the space constraints that I have in my apartment, I prefer to have some of these smaller Cattleya orchids. So really looking forward to how this does. I'll probably do an update at the end of the year to mark the 1-year anniversary of these orchids, and hopefully most of them will have been in bloom, including that one, so I hope so. If not, maybe in another year it'll be in bloom, but so far it's growing so vigorously, so I cannot wait to see how this does. Up last is Dendrobium Green Flash. So this is another Latoria type Dendrobium. When I received it, it just had these growths, and then it worked on pushing out this new growth. It adapted well to semi-hydroponics. I find that the Latoria Dendrobiums do just fine in the grow method. These orchids overall were very vigorous when I got them, so I had no issues with these establishing. And it's a little bit surprising for me because I repotted them in the winter when you would think that they wouldn't do as well. But I'll caveat that with when I transitioned them, I had them sitting on a heat mat for a couple of months. So that sort of warmed the temperatures from the bottom and made sure that these orchids were getting warmth despite winter time. So I think that helped these establish really well. Anyhow, this one's doing well. It's an active growth. Some of the older canes have lost their leaves, which is totally normal for the Latoria type Dendrobiums. It has not bloomed yet, but hopefully we'll start seeing blooms in the next couple of months. This one I believe is blooming size, but so far so good. It's adapted really well. And I'll say that for when you transition an orchid from a wet-dry cycle to a semi-hydroponic, always moist system, sometimes it does set an orchid back. This one's adapting super well. The growths are just really encouraging. The roots are looking great. The only orchid that I no longer have with me is the Brassocattleya Yellowbird, and that one I gave away to my mom. And that one's doing really well under her care. It's pushing out new roots. It's pushing out some new growths, and so far she's really happy with it. So I hope it blooms for her. I already have a Yellowbird, so I just wanted to get her one because it's a really nice one. But so far, I really like these. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys liked this update. Let me know down in the comments below which orchid was your favorite. I'm overall very pleased with the quality of the orchids that I got from Gold Country, and I've actually placed another order, so you'll be seeing an unboxing from me in the next week or two, where I ordered a couple of different Cattleyas from them, and I'm really excited to show you guys the selection that I got. Well, anyway, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more orchid content like this. Talk soon. Bye.